What did you learn about yourself when you made Inside Out?
Well, it was a really giving subject matter. The attraction, frankly, for me was the comedy of emotions as characters. That just seemed like, oh, this is animation friendly. It's going to be like Bugs Bunny, these louder than life kind of characters. But as we got into it, we realized, gee, this is a subject that is probably key to the most important thing in our lives, and that is how we remain in relationship with other people. And the emotions are completely invisible to us in day-to-day life. We don't think about, gee, I think I should get mad now, or I should be fearful or whatever. That just sort of happens to you. So even creating scenes, like, okay, how do I want a funny line from anger. What would motivate that? What would cause anger to be angry in this scene? And so you have to kind of back up and really almost think like a psychologist or something as we would be writing. So it was very, like I say, a very giving concept to work on.
Both me and my co-director, we were writing a father-son story, so we did have a heart-to-heart after a few beers one night about our relationships with our own father and found a lot of similarities. We both had problematic relationships in the same way, and that became inherent in the story. And I'd like to say it was cathartic. It was actually rather difficult, to make that work for you, so it's still a comedy, but you're kind of trying to say something as well.
I find it fascinating.
I think we should all join hands now.
Yeah. I find it fascinating how your life in the making of the movie gets so intertwined with, the work that you're creating. I was watching my daughter, get ready to go to college. That process for the first time of really putting yourself out there in competition against everybody else. What are your test scores? Where do you line up? And her and all of her friends kind of judging their worth in some degree based on that. And it just struck me, like in our story, that what's important to remember is the little things. It's being kind. It's, how you treat your friends. It's when somebody's down, how do you interact with them? And at this age, when you're kind of high school going into college, you put so much of your self-worth into these other things. I just found in Charlie Brown's story this perfect, like, oh my gosh, this totally is intersecting what's going on in my life.
Mm-hmm. Peter, what have you taken away from it, do you think?
It's interesting because I didn't necessarily connect to in the beginning. The original idea of this is taking a dinosaur family and starting on a farm. I grew up in New York City, and so I'd never been on a farm. Going out to the farm, I completely connected to my family had a grocery store, and as a family unit, we were working very hard to survive in a city. These farmers and ranchers would be that same unit of a family, but just surviving out in the wilderness and the frontier. These parents raised these kids in a way that was so moving to me because as a parent myself with 2 kids, I'm a helicopter parent. I had no idea how much I was, where I was just coddling everything and just like, no, let me do that. Where this father, in that kind of old frontier way, was just like, I'm going to show you this once, and that's it. Uh-huh. And he taught these kids in that way, and trying to capture that life in the film and trying to leave room for that in those learnings was very moving for me. But yeah.
And I would imagine with The Prophet, there's lots to feast on in those words.
It is. I got the book when I was in college, and it had a very profound effect on me. I mean, really profound. While reading it, I had kind of a consciousness shift thing go on, and I'll always remember that. So when I got the opportunity out of the blue to do this, I really was excited to do it. While trying to expand the story, I'm going to start sounding kind of woo-woo here, but I always kind of also just sort of invited Gibran's spirit in there, because I was going to take a lot of liberties with this. I was going to expand it. So I felt a little bit in kind of communion with this spirit in a way. This for me was like a kind of the end of a big circle from college time when I was so affected by this, to have the opportunity at this point in my life to try to put something out there that I felt like is a positive thing. Something that also would be a reflection of a positive aspect of something that also grew out of the Middle East. There's nothing good coming out of there right now. We're not hearing anything good. Mm-hmm. And yet there are things of beauty from that culture as well. We took it to Lebanon, and there was a premiere for it in Beirut, which was the first time they ever had a movie premiere there, which was amazing to me.
Wow. Really? The first time?
The first time. And then Salma shows up and is the first, walk, and all that sort of thing. So it was very exciting. And then they all went crazy. Gibran is like a cultural hero for them. So it was very exciting. And again, also, that city, which had been torn apart, it's intense right now. And so it was good to have something that was a positive thing, and we could celebrate getting beyond all these divisions of religions and everything, you know. So I don't know if that says something like I learned from it, but it was a really profound experience.